Today we're talking about level 10ing your life. This is a saying we joke around about, but it's very true. It's happened in our life. It's happened in a lot of our team members' life. We have level 10'd our life. And what we're talking about today is something a little bit more tactical. But I believe it's really going to bring a lot of peace.
I don't even feel like this is I mean, it can be super tactical. You can take what you're about to hear and apply it to your business, whether you have 100 employees or one employee, or it's just you running your company and you have a few people here and there. Or if you have a family, I feel like this can be implemented. And I'm really excited to talk to you guys about this because I know, like, as a mom, there's a lot of things spinning throughout the week that are on my mind that require sometimes just myself. Sometimes it requires, hey, Stephen, I need your input on this before I make a decision. Or, hey, Stephen, this is something that you need to do it, and vice versa. And so having this structure in our family has just given me so much peace. I know that like something is going to get talked about and it's going to get done and it's going to get taken care of. And I feel like moms, especially moms listening, you don't have to be a mom and take this, but I feel like this will eliminate so much stress and give you back so much peace just by implementing this in your home alone. And if you take it and apply it to your business, another win on top of that.
Yeah.
But I love doing this. And even this last week, we had a bunch of rainmakers in town. We had our annual team planning, which was really excited. And we didn't get to this meeting just because of the way life worked. And I'm like, man, I'm bummed we missed it because of X, Y, and Z. So I think that there's huge emphasis on goal planning and goal setting, which is really incredible. But in between these big goals that you have, like, how are you going to get there?
So, what we're talking about today is something called the Level 10 Meeting, L10 Meeting. We didn't come up with this. This is something that was pioneered by a guy who came up with a system of running a business called the EOS system. I think it stands for like the Entrepreneurial Operating System.
Mhm.
But this can apply to your family as well. And this is why we joke about L10 your life, because we use this meeting structure in our business. Whenever we're doing a meeting with someone, it typically follows a structure and it's a way to get like 10 meetings done in one meeting. It's
Mhm.
amazing. So if you have any meetings in your life, whether that's for business, whether you're, on the board with a charity or your church, like, or maybe you're doing a family meeting once a week, this can be a really powerful structure to get a lot done, have a lot of accountability, and just like have really good communication with everyone involved. So this has really changed our business, and it came from this book Traction, which is a pretty advanced book, but this is one of those one things that we took out of there that we were like, oh my goodness, this is going to be so powerful in a business. And I remember before doing this, like we would have so many meetings, but there wasn't accountability. There wasn't a lot of follow up.
Mhm.
And now these meetings can run without us and a lot is getting done. It's so, so powerful. But why we joke about like L10 your life with our team is because slowly over time, as we've been doing this, our team's been seeing like how effective these meetings are. And they started to L10 their lives, which like they do L10 meetings with their family. And the reason it's called level 10 meeting is at the end, you do rate the meeting. Everyone rates the meeting, and the goal is to get a 10 out of a 10, a level 10 meeting. And today we just got a 10 out of 10 from everyone on the team. So
Woo.
it's very good that we are recording this episode. And like Chelsey said, I think it's going to bring a lot of peace to your family if you start implementing something like this, even a toned down version every single week.
Yeah. So maybe after you're done listening, you can report back to us and say, hey, I've decided to L10 my life, and you can join the L10 family club. All right. So we're going to go ahead and kind of break this down, how it works. We'll kind of pull from our own team experience as well as pull from what Steve and I do every Sunday night when we do our L10 family meeting. I'd actually first heard of a concept called a family meeting a couple of years ago before we implemented these L10 structures. And I kind of, when you hear things and you're like, I'm going to take that information, I'm going to save it and store it someplace. And then when I'm ready, I'm going to put it into place. And so I'd heard different people talking about how they have a family meeting once a week with their kids involved. It allows their kids to like talk about their week, how they're doing, what's coming ahead. So everyone's on the same page. And I love that idea. But I was like, I feel like I can't have a family meeting yet. I think at the time we didn't have kids. And our kids are little. They don't, I mean, Kaizen has a lot to say, but not in regards to like a ton of scheduling. So it was like, oh, we'll have to wait until the boys are older to actually implement this. But what I didn't realize is whether you have kids or not, you can implement this right now for your family life.
I mean, we've heard from a lot of high level entrepreneurs on this show. We always ask them about like family stuff typically, and we've
Yeah.
heard a lot of great hacks on how to reduce like the reactiveness and the mental clutter of running a high level business and running a family at the same time. And so for us, because we want to be like fully in dad mode, fully in mom mode,
Hmm.
or fully in business mode, we have to have a little bit of structure and boundaries so that like we can stay focused when we're in those
Hmm.
modes and be like, hey, we're not bringing business over here. We're not bringing family over here, but we also need a release point, like
Yeah.
sometime during the week where we can really go deep on a lot of these things. It's like, oh, there's a burning question that Chelsey has a burning question, but I'm like in the zone with some work thing, right? Like she has a space now to go like, okay, I'm just gonna write that down in my notebook. I'm gonna
Mhm.
bring it to the thing. As long as it's not urgent. If it's urgent or whatever, like for sure. Like that's the best part about running our own business. We could just totally take off and do that thing.
Mhm.
But it's really nice to just like stack things and get them done really fast. It makes things really efficient and it makes it less like every single night there's like, oh, this and this and this and this. And then you're not able to wind down your mind at night.
I think that that's really key. I think for me, I like even today I was on social media and I saw a post that a mom had made and other moms were just commenting and like I can totally relate. I can totally relate. And I think sometimes moms often get come across as like they're angry all the time. They're mad. And I come this way too. Like I get intense, but I think that's because there's so many things on your plate. Your mind is in a million different places. You oftentimes feel like you have no outlet. You're just like tasked to do everything yourself. While I know that it is common to feel that way, and it is so many women feel that way. And I think it's like there's like this bondage that we just don't know how to fight through. While that is normal, while that is common, I believe it doesn't have to be your normal. It doesn't have to be normal. And although I sometimes do have a hard time, like with all the thoughts and everything, and where does this fit? I have really tried hard to create systems where my mind doesn't go in that direction. And so when I saw this post on social media, I just felt so much empathy because I've been there, but also like I know that there's freedom. And so I think that's why I'm also super excited to talk about this because this meeting has given me so much freedom, both in I think for my mental health, it has given me so much freedom and my mental health. And I think more mom and women would experience that freedom if they implemented this. So to me, this is a really big deal and I'm excited to share with you.
Now, if you read the book, like the meeting structure, they recommend an hour and a half. But we were like, we can't even like, we're not doing that like in our business. So we made it an hour. And then for our family, an hour is also very long. So we pretty much do this in 30 minutes. And you can you can take some of these things, you can leave some of them. Okay. You don't need to have every single one of these things. In our business, we have all the things. In our family, we just have like, I think 2 or 3 of the things,
Mhm.
but we're going to run you through like the agenda and how it works. So you can see this and I don't know, maybe we use like a family example and a business example on each one of these. So you can kind of see how this works. So if you have a piece of paper or your phone or something, just write down kind of the agenda, the flow of the meeting, because it really helps you. You need someone to lead the meeting and this is going to be you. Okay. So you can say, hey, this is the structure and it takes a little bit to get into this thing. However, like you do this 2, 3 weeks, you're going to see like crazy momentum in the stuff that you've been wanting to get done, getting done. It's no longer like, oh, I meant to call the plumber this week about that thing. And then it goes on like 4 or 5,
Mhm.
6 weeks, right? It adds accountability, adds communication, lets everyone have a voice in the family. It's really, really powerful. And we're about to get into it. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do to open up the meeting, what we like to do in our business is we just go around the room and everyone shares business or personal best. Now, this isn't like 30 seconds or less. Everyone's sharing just like a quick snippet of like, man, something awesome that happened in your life. So this whole thing, like with our big company, like only takes about 5 minutes. With your family, you probably get through this pretty quick, but you could do this however. Hey, share a high and a low from this week, or hey, share some wins. Like we really love the wins. So we like to just go, hey, what have been some wins this week that you've seen with our family? Me and Chelsey just share a couple things like, oh, it's so cool that like this happened and we were able to make this happen and Kai did this. And so it just starts the meeting off as like a really positive, just like connecting point.
hmm And for teams specifically, it really allows your team to bond and to get to know each other and build that camaraderie that is super important in a company.
Yeah, and that's why we do business and personal best.
hmm
So in the business meetings, it's not just like all about business. You get to hear about, oh wow, this person, I didn't know they were into that hobby, and people are connecting, which is really cool. Next up on the agenda, okay, so you got like 3, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, maybe max for that, right? So I'd write down I'd write down the agenda items and like about the time frame you would commit to this. Okay, after the business and personal best, you're going to go into company announcements. Okay, in a family meeting, you're going to do family announcements, and so this is like 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 minutes max. Okay, but this is where you're just saying, hey guys, we're going on vacation later this month, so we're going to want to make sure this happens before that. Get excited, it's going to be really sweet. Or in the business, it's like, hey, this thing happened and this changed. So you're just making those bigger announcements, just like kind of every since this week, this is happening every week. It's really nice. Some things you got to communicate more than once, right?
hmm
And so this is a great space for that kind of like family announcement thing. Okay, the third thing that's going to happen in this L10 meeting is what we call a scorecard review. This is really good in the business. We have not done this in our family yet, but I think when our kids are older, this will be so fun to do with the kids to have like everyone has a scorecard. And
And
so,
maybe they can even get like an allowance or like that's how
ooh,
we
like
connect.
bonuses.
Yeah, bonuses or how you track their chores or something like that. I could see
Oh,
that really
yes.
working out as a scorecard.
So let me explain this from a business perspective, and then you could see how you could adapt this to your
Yeah.
family if you do the scorecard. Okay. We skip the scorecard because like we want our family meetings to be pretty short and succinct.
And usually they
Um,
run a little long. Let's
Yeah,
just be
yeah, yeah.
honest.
So, but the scorecard in the business, it's 5 to 10 minutes. And what it is, it looks like just like a spreadsheet. And everyone in the business has things they're reporting on. We call these KPIs, key performance indicators, I think
Mhm.
is what that stands for. And so as like we have over 100 people in our organization, like I can't get a direct report from every single person telling me what they're doing. That does not make sense. So we have leaders and we have teams. And so this allows as a CEO us to see into the business and what's going on by getting numbers reported kind of up to us. So how many of this happened this week? How many of these things happen? Like what's the percentage of this? And so the key thing with these scorecard numbers, you don't want to track a million different things. You want to track the numbers that give you insight into the future. Okay. You don't want to track stuff that's like, hey, in the past month, this happened. You're kind of like, this is what's happening right now. So this allows you to make a lot better decisions. A lot of people run businesses and they look at their P&L like a month after it's been gone through by like the accountant and all this stuff. And then they're making all these decisions like reactively in the like about like they're behind already. So
Mhm.
the KPIs allow you to go, how many leads do we have? How many sales do we have? What was the conversion rate? Like if
Mhm.
you're a business owner, that stuff makes sense. Okay. In the family, if you want to do the scorecard thing, where these numbers also come from is your big goals as a family. Like
Mhm.
I have a goal to like work out more, right? So one of my scorecards would be like workouts this week. And
Mhm.
and you would have everyone in the family have their goals and have like a weekly goal that is kind of like breaking that big goal down into smaller chunks. So my weekly goal is 3 times per week. So you'd see this on the scorecard on the left. It'd say like 3 is the goal. And then every week I'd have to report to the group. Okay, I did 2 this week. I did 4 this week. I had 3. And it just adds this layer of accountability where everyone's sharing their wins in a way that is helping them move forward. Now, again, you're going to run your family a little different than a company. And so this scorecard is probably something that, people self identify. This is something I want to help, like I want to track, I want to improve on. And they can report it to the scorecard really quickly. But we just go down the thing and it's like, you know, um, Chelsey, what were your numbers? And Steven, what were your numbers? Right. And we go through all of the, like in our business, we don't actually have any numbers that we report on. It's all departments underneath us. But in your family, it'd be fun to do
Mhm.
this. Right.
Yeah. And I could see this two different examples. One, for instance, I can go back to the wedding industry because that's where we came from. But I think it's so key for even, product shop owners or service based or e-commerce. I think this is really key because then you can look at and see like I oftentimes people knowing that sales like especially in e-commerce and even in the like service based industry there are higher months and there are lower months. And I feel like if you don't keep track of those numbers, you're just kind of guessing and it might be off of memory. Like, how many inquiries did I really get in the month of
Hmm.
December versus how many we actually booked? And then what about last year, And so it really allows you to track those things and make educated guesses off of that. And then you can see, oh, wow, like the last year at this time, we booked more weddings than we did this year. So there's something that is off in our
Yeah.
systems. And I think that that's really key to be able to look back on. And even as you're talking right now, Stephen, you just said we don't have scorecards, which we don't, but you just said a scorecard, like working
Yeah.
out. And I know for me, like I have a goal right now of 2 days a week. I want to wake up before the family, before the boys, and have 10 minutes of solitude to pray and meditate. And so that should be my
I was just
scorecard.
thinking of that too,
Yeah.
because the other thing with scorecards, it allows you to see trends. So if we
Yeah.
see, let's say Chelsea's reporting on her scorecard every week, and we start seeing she's like two, 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 and then it's like one, 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 and it's like zero, zero, right? It gives us insight into that thing to go, oh, well, this is trending a direction
Yeah.
that you don't want. So
Yeah.
let's think about like, it's not about hustle to go do that thing.
Yeah.
It's like,
It's
what
not.
else is happening in the family that needs to happen so that she can do this,
Yeah.
right? And so it allows you to see trends. And instead of like in the wedding, let's go back to the wedding example, getting to a month where you have no bookings or something, right? And then
Hmm.
freaking out, you can start seeing trends and you can start addressing it early. This helps you
Hmm.
predict the future by getting numbers.
Hmm.
Okay. And so this can be you reporting these to yourself every week. It could be your team reporting numbers up to you. In some of our e-commerce businesses, we have virtual assistants who just go find all the numbers and put it in a spreadsheet so we can see those trends. In a family, it's most likely going to be each individual family member
Hmm.
kind of coming up with a personal goal and then coming up with like a habit or daily or weekly kind of number of things they do that kind
Hmm.
of help move them towards that goal and reporting on them. Okay, so far we got business and personal best, we got company slash family announcements, we got the scorecard review. At this point, you are, if this is a family meeting, maybe you're 10 minutes in, 15 minutes in. If this is a business meeting, you got a big team, you're probably 15 to 20 minutes into the meeting at this point. Okay. Next, we go into rock review. This is another one that we currently don't do in our family. But I don't know. Maybe we get better at this. We'll start
Yeah.
adding this on. And I guess we didn't do like annual planning for our family or anything
No, we
yet.
probably should
So
though.
the rocks come from the big concept of rocks is this. Like if you had to like think of like a big rock in your life or your business that you wanted to like push this year, like a big boulder you wanted to move, like these are like your big goals, right? So let's just say your big goal this year is to work with 200 clients, right, in your business, or your big goal in your family is, or like maybe your health is to lose 20 pounds, right? That's like the big rock. But then like we usually take those big rocks for the year and we break those up into smaller rocks, like quarterly rocks. So that's
Mhm.
every 3 months that help you step towards that. And then your weekly scorecard kind of is like things that help you move towards those quarterly rocks. Does that make sense? Okay. So the rock review is where we kind of look at the quarterly rocks. Like if your goal is this, let's just go back to the weight example. Let's say you want to lose 40 pounds. Okay. I'm just gonna do an even number because I can break that up into quarters really easy. So that means every quarter you're losing 10 pounds. Okay. And so what you would do in the rock review is you just look at that rock and you go like, how am I on this rock losing 10 pounds? Am I on track or off track? And everyone kind of just reports on track or off track. This works really well in a business. Like I said, we haven't done this in our family, but we did just do some goal planning for the year. And I think it would be like,
Mhm.
we could do a really quick, like, how are you doing on that goal? Because like
Mhm.
we do have some bigger goals of like stuff that's definitely not going to happen overnight, but needs to be chunked away at a
Yeah.
little bit. Like over time, and
Mhm.
the rock review is kind of just a nice reminder of like, oh yeah, you wanted to invest more in real estate this year. What are you doing to step into that
Mhm.
zone? Instead of just getting to like November and be like, oh my gosh, there was that goal. And then you like
Mhm.
scramble.
Yeah.
Okay. So the rock review is just to look at the bigger goal and kind of see like, are you on track or off track? And then
Mhm.
when you get close to the end of the quarter, we kind of look at those off tracks and we kind of like as a team go, how can we support you on getting that on track? Right?
Mhm.
If there's a team member that's behind or family member that's behind on that goal, it's like, how can we support you? How can we support you? So sometimes you got to tag in other people and collaborate to get that rock past the finish line to on track.
Yeah. And I feel like the Chelsea 4 years ago would have been so resistant to do this. I think business is one thing, but personal life, like I don't know. Like, I think it feels like a lot of work to set up. So I just wouldn't wanted to do that. It was like, oh, too much mental space to set it up. So I just wouldn't do it. But the funny thing is that setting this up and running with it has given me more peace
Yeah.
than where I was at before. And so I think you got to choose into it and say, I'm going to like embrace the process. I'm going to sit in what are really my goals? How do I want to achieve them quarterly, every 3 months, as a family, as a business? And then you can celebrate and track those and know like what levels to pull if you need to,
Mhm.
like if I'm not, like you said, if I'm not waking up twice a week, like what is going on in my personal life that I'm just not doing that? Is it because I'm lazy and that needs to be addressed? Is it because I have too much on my plate? Is it because the boys aren't sleeping well? Like what is going on? And it
Mhm.
allows you to like pinpoint and actually see that growth,
Yeah.
because we don't want to stay where we're at. We have bigger things that we feel like we're called to do and accomplish. And I think so many people get stuck and then they just don't do anything.
Yeah. And you might be listening to this episode and be like, oh my gosh, this is like so my jam. I'm gonna do this. Or you might be listening to this episode and be like, these are absolute crazy people.
And we
So
are a little crazy, and that's
yes.
okay.
And you got to be crazy to
Yeah.
retrieve crazy results. If you see
Yeah.
crazy results in our life and our bank
Yeah.
account and,
We
the
didn't just
results of
do
people that get
nothing.
around us,
Yeah.
we're just sharing this stuff with you. If that's okay.
Yeah.
So if you don't want the results, that's totally fine. And again, this isn't like, I want to
This
give you,
isn't hustle. We're
yeah,
not
yeah,
preaching
yeah.
hustle. Like,
This is rest because it allows us to
yeah.
rest all week.
Yes.
Like, so like when Chelsea
Yeah.
has all this stuff on her mind, she just puts it in a notebook and forgets
Yeah.
about it until Sunday night.
You guys, it's been a
So
game
nice.
changer.
It's so
It's so nice.
And every
Yeah.
night we can just like have real conversations or hang out or just
Yes.
watch Netflix because we're
Yeah.
not having to have these like, oh my gosh, and then
Yeah.
the plumber's coming.
Yeah.
And so on Sunday nights, we look at the next 10 days. We've talked about that on this episode, but that also allows you not to be just super reactive on Monday because
Yeah.
like you have a little bit of overlap into the next week.
Mhm.
You're looking forward a little bit. And if this is stressing you out, don't worry. I want to run through at the end, like just like a super simplified version because we started really simple. We
Mhm.
didn't do the scorecard. We didn't do the rocks. So there's ways to tone it down, and I'll share some examples of just like actual stuff that is on our
Mhm.
L10 note right now. Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's recap: business, personal best, company announcements / family announcements, scorecard review, rock review. Okay. And then the last part of the meeting is
Mhm.
really the meat of it. So you're trying to get through the first stuff pretty quickly. And
Mhm.
so, if you're leading the meeting and someone is just taking over, or we've done this with each other where sometimes when people are bringing up scorecard stuff or bringing up, rock review, you go into like solving mode, right?
Yeah.
And so it can derail the conversation. So you have to really stay focused. Like that's just kind of like reporting. But then the last half of the meeting is there for like the conversation to dig into stuff.
Mhm.
Okay. So the last part is we do a really quick customer / employee headlines. So this is like good or bad reports, like it was just stuff that you've seen in a family. I probably wouldn't do like bad reports about other family members, but like, this is a time I would use this time if you're doing a family meeting to like choose one person and like edify them.
Mhm.
Does anyone have like something you saw in our family this week that you just wanted to like, celebrate,
Mhm.
and like, oh, Kaizen, I saw, when we went to the park, and that other kid wanted your toy, you gave it to him and like you shared with him. I thought that was so cool. I just want to like
Mhm.
highlight you and just like, we really believe in praising publicly, right?
Mhm.
In front of others. And so like this is a time for your family to do that for just like 2 minutes and just like call out the good stuff.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
If there's something, I mean, honestly, there's some conflict or something bad, you can bring that up too, but it's not in like calling people out. It might be in
Mhm.
like, hey guys, this week, I just want to say, like, you remember on Wednesday, me and mommy were a little frustrated. We
Mhm.
raised our voices at each other a little bit. And then you guys went to bed. I just want to let you know, like, we talked about that afterwards and like
Mhm.
how we're talking to each other wasn't okay. And
Mhm.
we apologized. And I just want to make sure you guys knew that because you went to bed, you might not have seen us work
Mhm.
through that. So it's like just a time to bring that like kind of headline
Yeah.
of like, this is what's happening, good or bad, and bringing people into it, bringing the family into it, bringing the business into it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're getting into the meat. I guess that was still like announcements. This is called the agenda section. Okay. We call this last week's agenda. And this is where you check in on the stuff that you set up last week.
Mhm.
Okay. So this doesn't make sense on your first meeting. On your first meeting, skip this section. But on your next meeting, this is where anything that came out of the last meeting where people said they were going to do something or
Mhm.
there was like, hey, you're going to call the plumber and I'm going to handle the tree person. Like you kind of assign people to tasks,
Mhm.
right? This is where you go check on those things and you go like, Steven, did you call the plumber? Done or not done? Right. And I'm
Mhm.
like, done. Yes. And then
Mhm.
Chelsey, did you call the tree guy? Not
No.
done. Oh no. Okay. So then we move it to the next week's
Yeah.
agenda. Okay. So that takes like, 3-4 minutes just to go through
Mhm.
those. And then we go into the issues section. The issue section. So the issue section, or we call this the IDS,
Mhm.
which stands for identify, discuss, and solve. Okay.
Mhm.
IDS. And so this is where you put all the stuff that you're like, oh, I want to ask about this,
Mhm.
or I want to share information about this, or I need a decision be made on this. Your son could come to you, hey, I think I want to join basketball this summer. I wanted to talk about it. I saw this camp, right? This is where that's the IDS. It's the issues
Mhm.
section. We call it the IDS: identify, discuss, solve. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's sharing information. Hey, I just want to let you know about this. This thing got canceled. We got to move some things around. Sometimes it's asking for like, a decision to be made. Like I want to talk this through and make a decision. And sometimes it is just bringing something where you're just like, I don't know. I just need to talk about this, right? So
Mhm.
that's the IDS, and that is really like the bulk of like everything else is kind of just like reporting, highlighting. It's like celebrating. This is really like where you get the stuff done and you come
Mhm.
up with some tasks out of it. So to make that really real for you guys, we'll just show you one of our meetings. We'll talk it through. Not the whole thing, but I'll just show you some of the things like we have on like an IDS, a typical IDS for us as a family meeting. In our business, there's all types of stuff you're going to see in there, and anyone can bring something to the IDS. So this is like when you're writing stuff down during the week, like I want to bring this to the meeting. This is where you bring it up on the IDS. Okay. And then the last part of the meeting, you're going to conclude the meeting once everything is done by just saying, hey, we just want to rate the meeting. How
Mhm.
did it go? It's 1 out of 10, 10 being like a level 10. This is the best meeting ever. One being like, you hated it every second of it. And so what this does, it allows communication to make the meeting better. Okay.
Mhm.
So if the meeting was supposed to be 30 minutes and it went like 5 hours, right? You might get a 2. And so when people rate the meeting, you just go around, hey, what would you rate the meeting? The goal is to get 10s, but it's okay if someone's a 9, an 8, a 7, because you ask them, what would make this a 10 for you? Oh, it went a little long, or we got really into the weeds on this thing, but I really felt like this thing was more important. Right? It allows that communication and allows you to adapt the meeting over time to be getting 10s every week, which makes everyone feel awesome.
I know Steve and I wanted to give you as much information on how to do this with your team, with just by yourself or with your family. And I know it can be a lot, and I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. So if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm overwhelmed, I just want a few things to implement, we want to encourage you to start there, just implementing this simple L10 meeting.
So this will be like a 20 to 30-minute family meeting structure. This is exactly what Chelsey and I started doing. And now that we're into it and it's been fun,
We're like,
we're like,
more,
let's add the
more.
scorecard, let's add the rocks. But like for
Yeah.
now, just try this. Okay. Everyone comes together for the family meeting. And for us, we don't do a ton of prep. And so we just sit down for like 5 minutes in silence. And what we do is me and Chelsey personally, we look at the calendar, we just kind of like think, and we write down stuff that could be potential IDS, right? Stuff that we need to identify, discuss, solve together. We
Mhm.
write down potential IDS. Okay. So we spend 5 minutes in silence. We look at the next 10 days and I'm like, oh yeah, I see a calendar conflict there. We're going to need to find childcare there. Oh, there's a date day over there. We should probably text my parents. So I'm like writing down the stuff. She's
Mhm.
doing the same thing. We take
Yeah.
3 to 5 minutes to do that in silence. It's really tempting when you bring it up. You're like, hey, oh my gosh, did you see this? Like, and then you start talking about it. Don't do that. Like if you catch yourself doing that, wait for the IDS. Okay. Just like anyone can correct anyone and go like, hey, wait, let's just get back on track. Silence here. Let's get it all down. Let's not
Mhm.
try to solve it now. Let's solve it because this is about efficiency.
Mhm.
Okay. Then we go into like super quick business personal best, 1 sentence each. Okay. Easy. Then we look at the agenda. Okay. The agenda for us is so we skip the scorecard, we skip the rock review. We're going right into the agenda, which is looking at last week, the
Mhm.
tasks. Okay. And this will make sense once you do your first meeting, you're going to have this. So on your first meeting, skip the agenda. But let's just say I'm going back to like 12:25 here. Our agenda was like Stephen contact the electrician. Chelsey take the vacuum in for repair, or have Amy do it, who is our nanny. Stephen contact this bedding company about a product we got that was a little bit it needed some help, right?
Mhm.
And so these are just like stuff that we agreed to like kind of task out where I would own something, Chelsey would own something. And so that week during the agenda, it was like, I got to report, I did this, I did this. And Chelsea's like, I did this, I did this. And it makes you feel like, man, this is awesome. We're getting stuff done.
Mhm.
Okay. So that's the agenda. Then we went really quickly into family announcements, made some family announcements, and then we get into IDS. So you can see how really fast we're getting
Mhm.
into the IDS portion. And the IDS portion, again, is like the bulk of the meeting where you're like, hey, I see this calendar conflict. What do you want to
Mhm.
do about that? And you're talking it through and you're creating a solution. And then here's the key part out of that solution. Let's just use the calendar. Let's use the date day example.
Mhm.
Hey, Chelsea, I'm seeing a date day that we planned months ago on Wednesday night. I realized that I haven't texted my parents yet on that. Do we still want to do that? Yes. Okay, cool. So, like, how about this? So, out of that IDS, we agreed we still want to do it. We come up with some tasks.
Mhm.
Okay. So, Chelsea's task is to call the restaurant and to make the reservation. My task is to arrange childcare. Okay. And so we just write those down. And so I have a note on my computer I'm looking at right now. And
Mhm.
I have at the top, um, it just says template. It says business or personal best, agenda, family announcements,
Mhm.
IDS, rate the meeting. Okay, that's my template for our family meeting. And so every week I just copy that and paste it down
Mhm.
below and I put the date on it. Okay. And then I do it again. And I put next week's date
Yeah.
because, like, when we're talking about something on the meeting, we want to add it to the agenda for next week's meeting to review and to see if it was done or not done.
Mm.
Okay. And so it takes some time to see this and do it, right? But once you've run through this a couple times, you get through the IDS, you rate the meeting, you're done. Okay.
Mhm.
And I just want to like kind of share that example with you. So what I recommend if you want to do this is one person should take charge of this. If you're the one listening, you're excited about this, or you just know that this is going to be really beneficial for you, one person take charge. For me, that was me having the note on my phone. So I use my phone for notes. And so I have this note on my phone that says family weekly meeting L10. And it has the template, like I mentioned at the top, which is just like text, like just template, personal business best, agenda, family announcements, IDS, rate the meeting. That's my little template. So every week I can just copy that down, paste it, put the date on it, and we use that. And I'm kind of just taking notes as we're going on the template. And if it's a future task thing, I put it as a future week. But we're really just looking at the week and maybe a week ahead, and we're going through that. If you're a pen and paper person, you might just get like a family L10 notebook for this and you just kind of write your template out like that. Okay. If you
Mhm.
want to add the scorecard in there and all that stuff, that's totally fine. If you want to keep it simple, just do the simple one. And then every page is a week, like this is a one page of your week, and then if it's, in the IDS section, it's like, oh, you're going to do this and you're going to do this for next week. You flip the page and you put that on the agenda section, right? Of next week, because the agenda is about the accountability of looking back of like, did you call the electrician? Did you book the restaurant? Which, yes, we went on our date this week. So yes, that worked. But like we're looking back and holding people accountable because sometimes things don't happen and that's okay. And then you just go, do you need another week on that? Yeah, that's totally fine. And you bump it to the next week. Okay. So this is totally doable. You can start with just you and your spouse. You can start with you and that one employee. You could even start structuring vendor meetings. Maybe in your business, you're working with a vendor like an advertising company or something, right? You can start structuring your meetings this way so they can be way more efficient. If you're
Mhm.
finding that, you're giving people a task and they're not happening in your business, this is a great way to add accountability. And the
Mhm.
scorecard feature, especially in the business, allows people to self set their goals. If
Yeah.
someone's like, I want to, like, say we hired someone to help us with lead generation, right? And they're like, I want to get 100 leads a week, right? They self set that scorecard goal, right? Based on their yearly big goal. Okay. And
Mhm.
then they every week have to report to that. They have to report, did you get 100 leads this week? Did you get 100 leads? And so they hold themselves accountable to that. And then it forces them to lean into growth with you and
Mhm.
just stretch that goal the next quarter. Okay, we're 100. Let's go to 150 this quarter. Right. And it helps that growth mindset just permeate through your whole business and hold people accountable and open up communications channels so you can have level 10 meetings all the time.
I remember before doing EOS, and this is just in our personal life and for our family. I feel like I was coming to Steven every single night, like feeling like, oh, am I going to have time to squeeze in my question? I'm tired. I should be turning off my work brain. I shouldn't be doing this. But I felt like it was like every night I had to like bring something to Steven. And it was just causing that constant like wheel to turn in my brain, and it felt like I couldn't turn it off. So when I look back to before we started L10s in our family, that's where I was at. And now I feel like I have so much more peace of mind. I know Stephen and I are going to get things done. I know who's going to do what. And it's just brought my stress levels down. And it's just been able to like keep us accountable. And it just makes me so excited to have this tool. And that's why I wanted to share it with you, because yes, it is incredible in our business and it has done so many amazing things, but in our personal life too, it has transformed us in so many ways. And I'm excited when the boys are a little bit older to also be a part of this, and see how that morphs and shapes our family. But if you want to dive more into this, I know we've given you a lot of information and a lot of structure that I know is going to help you and your family. But if you want to dive more into it, we have a couple of resources for you.
All right. So if you go to Google and you just search L10 structure, okay, so level 10 structure, but just search L10, just like one whole word, L10 meeting structure, L10 meeting structure, throw that on Google. Notion has a great article. Notion is like a note taking app. They have a great article that's right at the top. It says, what is a L10 meeting and why should your startup use it? If you want to go deeper on kind of like exactly what we just talked about, but just like see the nuances of how Notion, a huge tech company, uses this, go on that lesson and you can dig in a little bit deeper. That's just like, if you want something quick, that's it. If you want to go deeper on like the EOS system, which L10 is a part of this system that we use to run our business and our company, there's like a simple book called What the Heck is EOS? That's a great simple book. If you want to go like ultra deep, you're like the super nerd, you want to really learn everything, Traction is the book you need to have. If you run a big organization and you don't have structure, Traction really, really helped us build some structure in our business. So these L10 meetings don't just happen with leadership; they happen with they happen with all the departments. So our customer service department has a leader who runs an L10 for customer service. That allows those issues to trickle up to the leader, and then we do a leaders meeting with customer service lead on our L10. So it allows us as CEOs to have eyes and ears into every part of the business, every role in the business. It has everyone having a role, a scorecard, and everything. And it all trickles up to our leadership L10. And so if you run a big organization and you don't have a structure like that, this can be really powerful for you, all the way down to just doing this with your family. So however you're using this, we really hope this episode gives you some structure, some framework to use to bring freedom, to bring peace, and to bring momentum towards working and growing together.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Rainmaker Family Show. Hey, if you are not a part of our Rainmaker Mastermind, we have a new opportunity for you to book a one-on-one strategy call with one of our Rainmaker coaches.
If you want to get a call with them, see if it's a good fit for you to work with us to build a business that allows you to have time freedom and financial freedom, you can get that call at makeItrainmama.com/podcast. That's makeItrainmama, MOMMA.com/podcast.